Hey YouTube, what is up? This video is about Pokemon's 20th anniversary, Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow being re-released on the Virtual Console, and Pokemon Sun and Moon. And before you guys say anything, yes, I know the background video is unfortunately not Pokemon related, but I don't want to risk Nintendo strong-arming my channel or anything like that because they are a very big and very influential company, and I already have Bandai Namco giving me grief for posting Naruto videos, so I don't need two very large and influential companies messing with me. One is quite enough. So let's get into this Pokemon talk. And yes, if you haven't heard, Red, Blue, and Yellow have been re-released on the Nintendo 3DS Virtual Console for $10 a piece. I personally bought Blue and Yellow version as a kid. I mean, I guess the best way to start this out is when we started video games, when you guys started playing video games, there's always your first game, and it's, you know, it's an important game because it gets you into this hobby, it gets you into this borderline addiction, if I'm being a little honest. Video games can be pretty encompassing in people's lives, and it's a major formative part, especially for children that grew up playing specific video games, or just playing video games in general. It's their formative memories as opposed to like the generation of the 50s growing up watching television. We have video games while they had the television. Now, for us, and for me specifically, Pokemon Blue version was my first video game, and to be honest with you, my first memory overall, like the farthest back I can remember, is going to Toys R Us to pick up my copy of Pokemon Blue version and putting it into my lime green Nintendo Game Boy Color. And early on, if you guys didn't know this, the way that Pokemon games worked and the way that they saved was by having a battery in the actual cartridge to run and save your game state. Otherwise, there was no way to save. If that battery died, you lost your game save. Out of the box, my battery was dead. But I didn't know that. I thought that the save function in the start menu was a way to save revive Pokemon or something like that, and as a child, every time I started Blue version, I had to start anew. So it's a weird experience, and I mean, some people might have had this experience too, but I feel like it was a very niche thing as a child because early on, SNES games, NES games, they really didn't save. It was just, you know, you played through the story, and you got like unlocked passwords, and that's the way you access further parts of the game without having to like replay up to that point. I assume Pokemon might have been that way, but for me it wasn't. I just had to replay Pokemon every single time. And I tell you, it formed like a weird, like, it was a weird way to play the game. Obviously it wasn't meant to be, you know, you don't start over every time. But for me, it just made me love the game even more because I played through it and I saw like all the little things over and over again. I enjoyed the story so much because for a handheld game to have such like a decent story to it, it was great. And I only played through the entire game maybe twice in my entire life, when I was like 6, because I had a plop. You know, if you didn't know this, Game Boy Colors ran on AA batteries, and back in the day, if you were playing through all the Pokemon, it took a decent amount of time, especially if you're a 6-year-old or a 4-year-old and don't really know how to play that shit. So if I didn't plop fresh batteries into my not 3DS, I'm just used to saying that now, into my Game Boy Color, I wouldn't last through the save. And I literally had once happen where I was up to the Elite Four as a 6-year-old, so happy, fighting the final person after you beat the Elite Four, and the batteries died, and my screen, if you didn't know, on a Game Boy Color, when the batteries died, your screen would kind of like fade away. And it was like, at that part, I just had like the most soul-crushing defeat, because I had spent like maybe 12 hours straight trying to do it, just leaving my Game Boy Color on while I ate and stuff like that. So that was like a weird formative memory for me, but being able to actually save in Pokemon is so great. In the new, like, I guess, Nintendo 3DS version, all they didn't change anything except for add Pokemon Bank support, because if you didn't know, you weren't able to trade between generations 2 and 3, which is basically Silver, Gold, and Crystal. You couldn't trade up to Sapphire, Ruby, and Emerald. There was no way to do it, so there was no way to get your true Generation 1 Pokemon or Generation 2 Pokemon up into the next games, because you could trade between 3, 4, 5, 6, stuff like that. There's ways to do it, but you couldn't trade between 2 and 3. That was like the roadblock. So you could trade from 1 to 2, but you couldn't go 2 to 3. And now there's a way to do it because they introduced Pokemon Bank support. Yes, they did re-release Red and Green as Fire Red and Leaf Green, but that I don't really count because it's not like a true game. It's an iteration. That's like saying Soul Silver and Heart Gold, even though they are remakes of Silver and Gold, were the way to trade up. It's not the same thing. They actually added a way retroactively to trade from the first Pokemon game, and that's really, really cool. I enjoy that. I want to see what happens when you put Missing No in the Pokemon Bank. Do you get Pokerus Virus or something like that? That'd be really cool. I don't know if they added that function. Another thing I'm trying to do, but like besides basically go through all the glitches that I never did as a child, was do the Mew glitch. I want to get Mew because a Mew from first gen is basically impossible to get without doing the glitch unless you attended like one specific tournament or something like that. So I want to get the Mew, I want to bring it over, I want to get that thing to level 100 and have it only know like pound, and that would be so cool. I already have one from the event that they did, but I want to bring the one over from blue version. And just to, you know, I've been talking about red, blue, and yellow for a while now, so let's quickly just change to sun and moon. I want to talk about that as well, and I have a little theory I want to discuss with you guys. I want to know what you think about it. Yes, I want to also say really quick, I think it's really cool that they named it Sun and Moon, and the moon is blue and the sun is red. That's just cool in my mind because I played Mega Man as a kid, and there's a Game Boy Advance game, which was Mega Man Battle Network 4, Red Sun and Blue Moon. So a lot of people are calling that out, that it's actually, you know, very, very similar in name. The moon for Pokemon is blue, the sun is red. So I thought that was really cool. Obviously, it's not an intentional thing, or if it was, they just really didn't care, but I just like that because I hope, you know, Sun and Moon are good, and I really loved Mega Man, Red Sun, and Blue Moon. I had both of those games as a kid, so it's really cool just to see a little tie-in, even if it's in just name alone. My theory, by the way, with Sun and Moon is that this is finally going to be the Pokemon game where we get to play through every region. And, like, you know, maybe we'll start out in the newest region and then be able to visit other regions going back and back iteratively over time. Kind of like how you did it in Silver and Gold, where you're able to go back to the generation of Red, Blue, and Yellow. Once you beat, you know, your 8 gyms and stuff like that, you could hop over to the other region and play through their 8 gyms. And then in the end versus Red, that'd be a cool thing to do in Red Sun. Not Red Sun, I'm calling it the Mega Man games. In Sun and Moon, my theory, because of, like, my reason that I think that this is finally going to be the game is because so far Pokemon games have just been named after colors, after gem types and stuff like that. Now we finally have Pokemon games that are named after astrological bodies. We have the moon, we have the sun, and this makes me think we're going to be able to play throughout the entire Pokemon world. That's just my theory because I really want it to happen, and that it seemed to click in my mind. So I really hope that this is the Pokemon game where we finally get to play through every region, or at least visit other regions. Maybe not beat all the gyms, because 64 gyms would be a little overboard, but I would love to be able to play through at least a couple of regions, or at least visit them to catch the Pokemon there. Something like that. That's really what I want. And the only reason I feel like this is the case is because no Pokemon game has done this so far. We've been asking for it for a very, very long time, since we realized that Generation 3, you wouldn't be able to go back like you could in Generation 2. And I really hope we get this Pokemon world. That's what I want. I think the astrological bodies might have been a clue to it, or it could have just been a name and I'm, you know, extrapolating on it and we're not going to get it, but that's what I hope the next Pokemon game is. There haven't been any Pokemon that have been released for, you know, Gen 7, besides they showed like a wireframe of a bird Pokemon, that's about it. So we probably just saw like the next iteration of Pidgey, like the new version of Pidgey, how we get one every time. There's a new version of basically like a flying normal bird type Pokemon, and I want to see what it is. I really want to play Pokemon World. But that's it for this video, guys. I gotta play through some Pokemon Blue. I gotta get that Mew for myself. If you like this video, you can follow me on Twitter @Schwabs, or you can like my Facebook page, facebook.com/TheVinnyDShow, to see when I post these videos. Or if you really like the video, you can click subscribe, and you can enable notifications to see when I post these videos, because it's free, it's fun, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And I want to make more Pokemon content. I just gotta see, you know, if I can post Pokemon footage. That's pretty much it. Thank you guys again, and I'll see you next time.